Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the blue planet turn slowly below them. His purple skin gleamed under the soft lights as he studied the data screens showing Earth's radio signals. The Zephyrian Empire had sent him here to learn about this new species before they conquered it. For 3 months, his ships had been listening to human broadcasts from their hiding spot behind Earth's moon. What they heard made Vextar confident this would be an easy victory. The humans seemed to spend most of their time fighting each other over silly things like politics and resources. Their military looked weak and disorganized compared to the mighty Zephyrian fleet. His second-in-command, Kethra, walked over with a datapad in her clawed hands. She was smaller than Vextar, but just as confident about their mission. The Zephyrians had conquered 47 worlds using the same careful approach of study followed by overwhelming force. "Commander, the analysis is complete," Kethra said as she handed him the pad. "These humans are even more primitive than we first thought. They spend enormous amounts of time creating fake battles for entertainment purposes. Their real military forces appear to be poorly trained and equipped." Vextar scrolled through the data with growing satisfaction. His scouts had intercepted what humans called movies and television shows. The aliens saw these fictional wars and assumed they represented real human military capability. They watched action films and concluded that human soldiers were reckless and ineffective. They observed war documentaries about ancient conflicts and decided that human technology had barely advanced. What the Zephyrians failed to understand was the difference between entertainment and reality. They saw humans arguing in political debates and mistook passionate disagreement for weakness. They observed protest movements and assumed human society was always on the verge of collapse. Most importantly, they interpreted human peacekeeping efforts as evidence that humans avoided real conflict far. Below on Earth's surface, Jake Morrison was finishing his morning coffee in the command center of Space Station New Horizon. The station orbited Earth at a distance that gave them a perfect view of space in all directions. Jake commanded a crew of 12 people, whose job was to watch for asteroids, comets, and other space hazards that might threaten Earth. Dr. Lisa Harper sat at the science station reviewing data from their deep space sensors. She was Earth's leading expert on the possibility of alien life, and had spent years hoping to find evidence that humans were not alone in the universe. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, as she focused on the screen showing energy readings from the outer solar system. "Captain, I'm seeing some unusual patterns out near Jupiter," Lisa said without looking up from her instruments. "The energy signatures don't match anything in our database, but they could just be solar flare effects." Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez looked up from his communication console where he had been monitoring radio traffic from Earth. Sam was responsible for keeping New Horizon connected to ground control and watching for any emergency signals that might need their attention. His family had moved to America from Mexico when he was young, and he had joined the space program to explore beyond Earth's atmosphere. "I've been tracking those signals too," Sam added. "They seem too regular to be natural phenomena, but there's no known human technology that could produce that kind of energy output." Jake walked over to look at their screens. As station commander, he had learned to trust his crew's expertise even when the data seemed impossible to explain. New Horizon was equipped with the most advanced sensors available, but they were designed to detect natural space objects, not signs of alien technology. The three of them studied the readings for several minutes without reaching any conclusions. The energy patterns appeared and disappeared in ways that suggested intelligent control, but the signals were coming from empty space, where no human ships were supposed to be operating back. On the Zephyrian command ship, Vextar was reviewing the final invasion plans with his fleet commanders. 50 ships carrying advanced weapons and shields would be more than enough to force human surrender. The Zephyrian strategy was always the same: arrive with overwhelming force, demand immediate submission, and destroy any resistance quickly and efficiently. The humans have a small monitoring station in orbit, but it poses no threat to our operations, Kethra reported as she pointed to tactical displays. Their planetary defenses are minimal, and their military appears to be scattered across multiple locations without central coordination. Vextar nodded as he examined the plans. The Zephyrian Empire had built its reputation on swift, decisive victories that demonstrated their power to other potential enemies. Earth would serve as another example of what happened to species that refused to submit to Zephyrian rule. What neither Vextar nor his commanders understood was that they had fundamentally misread everything about human civilization. They had observed humanity during a period of relative peace and mistaken careful diplomacy for weakness. They had seen human entertainment, depicting fictional conflicts, and assumed these represented real military capabilities. The Zephyrians had no experience fighting an enemy that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare. Every human conflict had taught lessons about strategy, tactics, and the psychology of combat. Humans had developed weapons and fighting techniques through constant testing against other humans who were equally determined to win. Admiral Chen Wei was reviewing defense reports in his office at Earth's military headquarters when the first energy signatures appeared on long-range sensors. As commander of the United Defense Force, Chen had spent 30 years preparing for threats that might come from space, but he had always expected them to be natural disasters like asteroid impacts. His aide Colonel Amy Phillips entered the office, carrying urgent communications from observation posts around the world. Amy had flown combat missions in 3 different conflicts and understood both space-based and atmospheric warfare better than most officers in the military. Admiral were getting consistent reports of unknown energy sources moving toward Earth, Amy said as she placed the reports on his desk. The patterns suggest artificial origin, but we have no idea what kind of technology could produce these readings. Chen studied the data while considering the implications. If these signals represented alien technology, then humanity was about to face its greatest challenge. The military had contingency plans for many scenarios, but first contact with hostile aliens had always seemed like science fiction rather than a real possibility. On New Horizon, Jake Morrison was coordinating with ground control to track the mysterious energy sources as they moved closer to Earth. Lisa Harper had confirmed that the signals showed signs of intelligent control, while Sam Rodriguez was preparing communication equipment in case they needed to attempt contact. None of them realized that high above their heads, Vextar was making final preparations for what he expected to be a routine conquest. The Zephyrian commander was confident that humans would surrender immediately when faced with superior alien technology. Both sides were about to discover just how wrong their assumptions had been. The Zephyrian fleet emerged from behind the moon like dark shadows against the stars. 50 ships arranged in perfect formation moved toward Earth, with their weapons powered but not yet aimed at the planet. Vextar stood on his bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen as they approached. Open communication channels to the planet's surface, he ordered his crew. Send the standard surrender demand on all frequencies. The message went out in multiple human languages that the Zephyrians had learned from intercepted broadcasts. The translation software had worked perfectly during their months of observation, and Vextar was confident the humans would understand exactly what was being offered to them. People of Earth, this is Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire, the message began. Your world is now under our protection. Submit to our rule immediately, and your species will be allowed to continue existing under our guidance. Resist and face complete destruction. You have 1 of your hours to respond. On Space Station New Horizon, the emergency alarm started ringing as Sam Rodriguez picked up the alien transmission. Jake Morrison rushed to the communication station while Lisa Harper activated every sensor they had to study the approaching ships. Captain, I'm reading 50 vessels of unknown design, Lisa reported with excitement and fear in her voice. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours, but I'm getting detailed scans of their hull compositions and energy signatures. Jake grabbed the microphone to contact Earth's military command. Ground control, this is New Horizon. We have confirmed alien contact. 50 hostile ships approaching Earth with what appears to be an ultimatum for surrender. Admiral Chen Wei received the message in his command center as reports flooded in from observation posts around the world. Every telescope and radar system on Earth was now tracking the alien fleet as they moved into orbit above the planet. Colonel Amy Phillips was already reviewing Earth's defensive capabilities when the surrender demand reached military headquarters. The message was clear and threatening, but Amy's first reaction was not fear but professional interest in studying an enemy she had never faced before. Admiral, the aliens are giving us 1 hour to surrender, she reported. Their formation suggests standard military doctrine, but I need more time to analyze their tactical approach. Chen Wei looked at the displays showing the alien ships and made a decision that would surprise the Zephyrians. Instead of panic or immediate surrender, the Admiral activated Earth's defense protocols with the calm efficiency of someone who had trained for this moment his entire career. Colonel Phillips, coordinate with all military commands worldwide, he ordered. I want every available ship and fighter prepared for combat within 30 minutes. Send word to New Horizon that they are now our primary intelligence gathering station. Amy Phillips smiled as she began issuing orders. The aliens had made their first mistake by giving humans time to prepare and organize. Any military commander knew that an ultimatum was only effective if the enemy was not ready to fight. On New Horizon, Lisa Harper was making discoveries that would prove crucial to humanity's defense. Her detailed scans of the Zephyrian ships revealed that while their technology was advanced, their tactics appeared rigid and predictable. Captain, their ships are maintaining perfect formation even though there's no immediate threat, she reported. That suggests they follow very structured military procedures without much flexibility for changing situations. Jake Morrison was coordinating with Earth's military while monitoring the alien communications. The Zephyrians seemed confident that humans would surrender without a fight, but their messages also revealed important information about their expectations and assumptions. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Colonel Phillips was discovering that humanity's military response was far more coordinated than the aliens had anticipated. Within 20 minutes, fighter squadrons from 12 different countries were in the air, while naval forces prepared to support ground-based defenses. Zephyrians had expected to find a disorganized collection of primitive military units. Instead, they were facing a species that could coordinate global military operations with frightening efficiency. Human military doctrine emphasized adaptability and creative problem-solving rather than rigid adherence to standard procedures. Admiral, we are ready for engagement, Phillips reported. Fighter squadrons are in position and our space-based weapons platforms are online. New Horizon is providing excellent intelligence on alien ship capabilities. Chen Wei studied the tactical displays showing both human and alien forces. The enemy had superior technology, but humans had something the Zephyrians did not expect. Thousands of years of experience fighting opponents who were equally determined to win. Open channels to the alien commander, Chen ordered. Let's see what they do when someone talks back. The response from Earth surprised Vextar completely. Instead of surrender or panic, the humans were apparently preparing to fight. Their ships were moving into combat formations while their communication systems coordinated military units across the entire planet. Commander, the humans are not responding as predicted, Kethra reported with confusion in her voice. Their military appears to be organizing for resistance rather than preparing to surrender. Vextar studied the displays showing human military movements. Nothing matched the intelligence reports his scouts had prepared. The humans were moving with coordination and purpose that suggested real military training and experience. Perhaps they do not understand the hopelessness of their situation, he decided. Prepare to demonstrate our superior firepower. Target one of their smaller military installations and destroy it completely. But before the Zephyrians could fire their first shot, Colonel Phillips launched humanity's opening move. 12 fighter squadrons attacked the alien formation from multiple directions using tactics designed to confuse and overwhelm enemy targeting systems. The human fighters moved in irregular patterns that made them difficult to track while firing weapons that had been hastily modified based on Lisa Harper's analysis of alien shield frequencies. The modifications were not perfect, but they were effective enough to penetrate Zephyrian defenses. Amy Phillips led the attack personally, flying a modified fighter that carried experimental weapons designed to disrupt alien communication systems. Her years of combat experience had taught her that the first minutes of any battle often determined the final outcome. The Zephyrians found themselves under attack by an enemy that fought unlike anything they had ever encountered. Human fighters broke formation, constantly making unpredictable moves that violated every military procedure the aliens understood. Commander, 3 of our ships have taken significant damage, Kethra reported with disbelief. The human weapons are somehow penetrating our shields and their attack patterns are completely chaotic. Vextar watched in growing horror as human fighters swarmed around his ships like angry insects. The humans were not following any recognizable military doctrine, and their willingness to take risks was unlike anything in Zephyrian experience. Return, fire and maintain formation, he ordered, but his ships were having difficulty targeting enemies that refused to fly in predictable patterns. The Zephyrians had trained to fight opponents who followed standard military procedures, not ones who seemed to ignore all conventional tactical wisdom. On New Horizon, Jake Morrison was coordinating the intelligence effort that was proving crucial to human success. Lisa Harper's continued analysis of alien technology was providing real-time updates on Zephyrian capabilities and weaknesses. "Captain, I've identified the frequency that controls their navigation systems," Lisa reported excitedly. "If we can disrupt those signals, their ships will have difficulty maintaining formation." Sam Rodriguez was already working to broadcast interference on the correct frequency, using New Horizons' communication array. The improvised electronic warfare was exactly the kind of creative solution that humans excelled at, but aliens did not expect. The first engagement lasted only 18 minutes, but the results shocked both sides. 3 Zephyrian ships were severely damaged while human losses were minimal. More importantly, the aliens discovered that their intelligence about human military capabilities had been completely wrong. Vextar stared at his tactical displays, trying to understand what had just happened. The humans had fought with skill and coordination that contradicted everything his scouts had reported. Worse, they had shown a willingness to adapt and improvise that suggested this was only the beginning of their resistance. For the first time since beginning, the invasion Vexitar began to suspect that the Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake. News of the alien attack spread across Earth within hours, but the planet's response was not what the Zephyrians expected. Instead of panic and chaos, humans reacted with grim determination and remarkable unity. Every major government pledged their military forces to a coordinated defense, while civilian populations began supporting the war effort with industrial efficiency. General Marcus Kane took command of all ground-based military operations from his headquarters deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Kane had spent 40 years studying warfare and understood that Earth's survival depended on using every advantage humanity possessed. The aliens might have superior technology, but humans had something more valuable: the ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Colonel Phillips reports that the first engagement went better than expected, Kane told his staff as they reviewed battle reports. The aliens fight using rigid formations and predictable tactics. Our pilots were able to exploit those weaknesses effectively. Admiral Chen Wei was coordinating space-based defenses from orbit aboard the flagship UES Defiance. The ship had been designed as a command platform rather than a pure combat vessel, but Chen was using it to coordinate attacks by smaller, faster ships that could outmaneuver the alien fleet. Dr. Lisa Harper had been transferred from New Horizon to Earth's main research facility, where teams of scientists were working around the clock to analyze captured alien technology. The first breakthrough came when she discovered that Zephyrian shields operated on specific frequencies that could be disrupted using modified human communication equipment. "If we can coordinate our transmitters worldwide, we can create interference patterns that will weaken their defensive systems," Lisa explained to the research team. "It won't make their shields useless, but it will give our weapons a better chance of causing damage." The modification process began immediately as communication stations around the world were converted into electronic warfare systems. Human engineers showed the same creative problem-solving that had surprised the aliens during the first battle. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez was now Earth's primary expert on alien communications, after months of intercepting and analyzing Zephyrian transmissions. His work had revealed crucial information about enemy capabilities and intentions that was helping human forces plan their strategies. "General, the aliens are reporting back to their home command that we're not responding as expected," Sam told Kane during a briefing. "They're requesting additional ships and revised tactical guidelines for fighting humans." Kane smiled grimly at this news. If the aliens needed to ask for help, then their initial invasion force was not sufficient to conquer Earth. Every day that humanity survived was another day to prepare better defenses and develop new weapons. Captain Jake Morrison was leading preparations for humanity's most ambitious mission yet, capturing an intact alien ship for detailed study. His team included Sergeant Kelly Brooks, who specialized in explosives and boarding operations, plus Dr. Harper, who needed to examine alien technology firsthand. "The target ship has been isolated from the main alien fleet," Jake briefed his team as they prepared for launch. "Our job is to disable it without destroying the technology we need to study. Kelly will handle the boarding while Dr. Harper focuses on gathering intelligence." Kelly Brooks had served in special operations for 15 years and understood how to fight in confined spaces against unfamiliar enemies. Her explosives training would be crucial for breaching alien hull materials, while her combat experience would help the team survive whatever defenses they encountered. The mission launched from a hidden base in the asteroid belt, using a ship that had been modified with captured alien technology. Human engineers had managed to replicate basic Zephyrian energy weapons and stealth systems, though their versions were crude compared to the originals. As they approached the target Zephyrian ship, Jake could see that it had been damaged in the previous battle and was operating with reduced crew. The alien vessel was larger than any human ship, but its hull showed the kind of battle damage that suggested vulnerability. "Remember that we know almost nothing about alien biology or psychology," Jake warned his team over the communication system. "Stay alert for anything unusual and be ready to adapt our tactics if the situation changes." The boarding operation succeeded because the Zephyrians had not expected humans to attempt such a direct assault. Their security procedures were designed to prevent escape rather than unauthorized entry, and they were unprepared for enemies who were willing to fight inside their own ship. Kelly Brooks led the assault team through corridors filled with strange lighting and unusual atmospheric mixtures. The aliens they encountered seemed shocked that humans would board their vessel and fight hand-to-hand combat in an enclosed environment. These aliens are physically stronger than humans, but they don't seem to have much experience with close quarters. "Battle," Kelly reported as her team secured the ship's main computer systems. "They're fighting like they expect us to follow some kind of honor code." Dr. Harper began downloading alien databases while the assault team held their position. The information she found was beyond her most optimistic expectations and would prove crucial to humanity's continued survival. "Jake, the aliens have detailed records of their previous conquests," Lisa reported excitedly. "Every species they've defeated surrendered quickly or fought using predictable honor-based tactics. None of them ever used the kind of asymmetric warfare that humans consider normal." The captured data revealed that the Zephyrian Empire had built its reputation on fighting enemies who followed rigid military traditions that emphasized honorable combat over practical victory. They had never faced opponents who were willing to use deception, psychological warfare, and overwhelming violence to achieve their goals. More importantly, the alien records showed that this invasion of Earth was intended as a demonstration to other species about the futility of resistance. The Zephyrians wanted a quick, easy victory that would intimidate their other potential enemies and maintain their empire's reputation for invincibility. "General Kane needs to see this immediately," Jake decided, as his team prepared to return to Earth with their captured intelligence. "If we can prove that the aliens are vulnerable, then we might be able to turn this invasion into something that helps humanity instead of destroying it." Meanwhile, Commander Vextar was facing the most difficult decision of his military career. His reports to Zephyrian High Command had been met with disbelief and demands for clarification. His superiors could not understand how a primitive species was successfully resisting their advanced military forces. "Commander, we have lost contact with the ship Kethmiran," his communications officer reported. The last transmission indicated they were under attack by human boarding parties. Vextar realized that the situation was deteriorating beyond his ability to control. The humans were not just defending themselves, but were actively capturing Zephyrian technology and intelligence. If they succeeded in learning too much about the Empire's capabilities, the consequences could extend far beyond Earth. "Send an emergency transmission to High Command," he ordered. "Request immediate deployment of additional fleets and authorization to use maximum force against the human military. This invasion is not proceeding according to plan." The message that reached Zephyrian leadership painted a picture that contradicted everything they thought they knew about warfare. A species they had dismissed as primitive was not only resisting conquest but was actively studying and adapting to Zephyrian technology. Back on Earth, General Kane was reviewing the intelligence gathered from the captured alien ship when he realized the full implications of what they had learned. The Zephyrians were not just another enemy to be defeated, but representatives of an empire that controlled dozens of worlds through intimidation and technological superiority. Colonel Phillips, I want you to begin planning offensive operations against Zephyrian positions throughout the solar system, Kane ordered. If these aliens rule through fear, then we need to show other species that the Zephyrians can be beaten. Amy Phillips understood immediately what Kane was proposing. Instead of just defending Earth, humanity would launch attacks designed to demonstrate Zephyrian vulnerability to any other species that might be watching. The war was entering a new phase where the stakes extended far beyond Earth's survival. Supreme Admiral Kethanal received Vextar's emergency transmission while reviewing reports from across the Zephyrian Empire. The message describing human resistance was so unusual that he initially suspected equipment failure or enemy deception. No species had ever successfully fought back against Zephyrian forces after their initial demonstration of superior technology. Verify this transmission immediately. Kethanal ordered his communication staff. Contact all ships in the Sol system and confirm their status. The responses that came back were even more disturbing than Vextar's original report. Multiple ships had been damaged or destroyed by human forces that fought using tactics the Zephyrians had never encountered. Worse, the humans appeared to be studying captured alien technology and adapting it for their own use. Kethanal realized that the situation on Earth represented a threat to the entire Empire. If news of successful resistance reached other, conquered species, it could trigger rebellions that would destroy everything the Zephyrians had built over centuries of careful expansion on Earth. Humanity was using the time provided by Zephyrian confusion to upgrade their military capabilities at an unprecedented pace. Chief Engineer Pete Davis led teams of scientists and technicians who were working to integrate captured alien technology with human weapon systems. The alien energy weapons are more efficient than anything we've developed, but their targeting systems are designed for predictable enemy movements, Pete explained to Admiral Chen Wei during a technical briefing. We can improve our firepower significantly while maintaining the tactical flexibility that gives us an advantage. The hybrid weapons that emerged from this crash program were crude compared to pure Zephyrian technology, but they were specifically designed to complement human fighting methods. The combination of alien power sources with human innovation created weapons, systems that neither species could have developed. Alone, Colonel Amy Phillips was preparing to lead humanity's first major offensive operation against the Zephyrian staging base that had been established in the asteroid belt. Her force included both upgraded human ships and captured alien vessels that had been modified for human crews. Our objective is to destroy the alien base and capture as much intelligence as possible, Amy briefed her pilots before the mission launch. More importantly, we need to make sure that any alien observers understand that humans can strike back effectively against Zephyrian positions. The attack force that left Earth orbit included ships that looked like nothing either species had built before. Human engineers had combined alien hull materials with human weapon configurations, creating vessels that confused enemy targeting systems while delivering devastating firepower. Dr. Lisa Harper had continued analyzing alien technology and made discoveries that changed humanity's understanding of the Zephyrian Empire. The aliens were not just technologically advanced but had become completely dependent on their superiority over other species. General Kane, the Zephyrians have forgotten how to adapt to unexpected situations, Lisa reported during a strategy meeting. Their entire civilization is built around the assumption that their technology will always be superior to anything they encounter. This weakness explained why the aliens were having so much difficulty fighting humans. Every Zephyrian tactic was designed to work against enemies who were impressed by superior technology and discouraged by initial defeats. They had no experience with opponents who treated setbacks as learning opportunities. Captain Jake Morrison was leading a reconnaissance mission to gather intelligence on Zephyrian reinforcements that were reportedly approaching the solar system. His ship now carried both human and alien sensors that provided unprecedented, detailed information about enemy capabilities. Sam, we're detecting a massive fleet moving toward Earth from the direction of the nearest Zephyrian colony, Jake reported to Lieutenant Rodriguez, who was monitoring alien communications. The energy signatures suggest they're bringing their primary battle fleet. Sam Rodriguez had become expert at interpreting Zephyrian military communications, and the intercepted messages painted a clear picture of alien intentions. Supreme Admiral Kethanal was personally leading a force designed to end human resistance permanently. Captain, the aliens are planning to use what they call maximum force protocols. Sam warned. Based on their communications, that means they're going to try to destroy Earth's military completely, rather than just demanding surrender. This intelligence reached Earth's military command just as Colonel Phillips was returning from her successful attack on the Zephyrian asteroid base. The mission had destroyed the alien staging area while capturing detailed information about Zephyrian supply lines and communication networks. General, the offensive was even more successful than we hoped. Amy reported to Kane as she reviewed the mission results. We've identified key Zephyrian positions throughout their local territory and confirmed that their logistics systems are vulnerable to coordinated attacks. Kane studied the intelligence with growing excitement. The aliens had built their empire assuming that conquered species would never be able to threaten Zephyrian territory. Their supply lines and communication relays were defended against rebellion but not against military forces with captured alien technology. Colonel Phillips, I want you to begin planning strikes against Zephyrian positions outside our solar system, Kane ordered. If they're bringing their main fleet to destroy Earth, then we need to make sure other species see that the Zephyrians can be beaten on their home territory. The strategy that emerged was unprecedented in human military history. Instead of concentrating all forces to defend Earth, humanity would launch simultaneous attacks across Zephyrian space designed to demonstrate alien vulnerability to every species. In their empire, Dr. Harper's analysis of captured databases had revealed the locations of Zephyrian colonies, communication relays, and supply depots that were essential to maintaining control over their conquered territories. More importantly, she had discovered that many of the empire's subject species were only prevented from rebellion by fear of Zephyrian retaliation. General, if we can prove that the Zephyrians can be defeated, then their entire empire might collapse from internal rebellions, Lisa explained. Their control depends on maintaining the illusion of invincibility. Pete Davis was working frantically to provide human forces with the technology needed for deep space operations against Zephyrian targets. The engineering challenges were enormous, but his teams had learned to innovate under pressure in ways that amazed both themselves and their alien enemies. Admiral Chen, we can provide long-range strike capability using modified alien engines and navigation systems, Pete reported. The ships won't be as advanced as pure Zephyrian technology, but they'll be effective enough to hit targets throughout their local territory. As the massive Zephyrian reinforcement fleet approached Earth, humanity was preparing for a final battle that would determine not just the fate of their species, but the future of the entire Zephyrian empire. Supreme Admiral Kethnal was bringing overwhelming force to crush human resistance, but he was about to discover that humans had learned to fight a different kind of war. Commander Vextar received orders to coordinate with the incoming fleet while maintaining pressure on human positions around Earth. The directives emphasized that no human military forces could be allowed to survive what was planned to be the Empire's final demonstration of power. Commander Kethnal's fleet will arrive in 72 hours, his communications officer reported. We are ordered to maintain our positions and prevent any human ships from escaping the solar system. Vextar studied his tactical displays, knowing that the approaching battle would either restore Zephyrian dominance or prove that the Empire had made a catastrophic error in judgment. The humans had already demonstrated capabilities that contradicted everything the Zephyrians thought they understood about warfare on Earth. Admiral Chen Wei was coordinating preparations for humanity's most desperate gamble. While most of their forces prepared to defend, the planet-selected strike teams were positioning themselves to attack Zephyrian territory. Throughout the local region of space, the aliens expect us to concentrate everything on defending Earth, Chen explained to his senior officers. Instead, we're going to show them what happens when you declare war on a species that refuses to fight defensively. Supreme Admiral Kethnal's massive fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. 300 ships arranged in perfect battle formation began their approach toward the blue planet that had caused so much trouble for the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral, our scouts report that human forces have established defensive positions throughout the system, his tactical officer reported. They appear to be using captured Zephyrian technology, combined with their own weapons in ways we have never encountered. Kethnal studied the tactical displays with growing concern. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress, using asteroid mining stations as weapon platforms and converting civilian ships into military vessels. More disturbing was intelligence suggesting that human strike forces had left the system entirely for unknown destinations. On Earth, Admiral Chen Wei was coordinating the defense from his command center deep beneath the surface. The facility had been designed to survive even if the planet's surface was completely destroyed, but Chen was hoping it would not come to that. Colonel Phillips reports that Strike Force Alpha has reached its target in the Proxima system. His communications officer announced they are beginning their attack on the Zephyrian colony there. Chen smiled grimly as he reviewed the battle plan that would either save humanity or ensure their destruction was remembered throughout the galaxy. While the main Zephyrian fleet, focused on Earth human forces, were simultaneously attacking targets across 20 different star systems. General Marcus Kane was leading the ground-based portion of Earth's defense, but his real focus was coordinating the intelligence war that would determine the battle's outcome. Dr. Lisa Harper had developed computer viruses specifically designed to attack Zephyrian systems, using weaknesses discovered in captured alien technology. General, the virus is ready for deployment, Lisa reported from her laboratory. Once we establish a connection to their fleet's communication network, it should spread through their systems and cause massive coordination failures. The virus represented humanity's greatest advantage in the coming battle. While the Zephyrians had superior numbers and technology, they had become completely dependent on networked computer systems that were vulnerable to human electronic warfare techniques. Captain Jake Morrison was leading the mission that would deliver the virus to the Zephyrian fleet. His ship had been modified with captured alien stealth technology and communication equipment that would allow them to access enemy networks without being detected. Sam, we need to get close enough to their command ship to establish a direct link, Jake told Lieutenant Rodriguez as they approached the massive alien fleet. Once you upload the virus, we'll have maybe minutes before they realize what's happening. Rodriguez was nervous but determined as he prepared the electronic warfare systems. His months of studying Zephyrian communications had taught him exactly how their networks operated and where they were most vulnerable to attack. The final battle began when Colonel Amy Phillips launched humanity's defensive strike against the approaching alien fleet. Her fighters moved in the chaotic, unpredictable patterns that had confused the Zephyrians before, but this time they were supported by weapon platforms throughout the solar system. All units, this is Colonel Phillips, she broadcast to the human forces. Remember that we're not just fighting for Earth, but for every species the Zephyrians have conquered. Show them what happens when they pick the wrong enemy. The human fighters swarmed around the alien ships like angry insects, using modified weapons that could penetrate Zephyrian shields. Their tactics were so unlike standard military doctrine that the aliens had difficulty predicting their movements or targeting them effectively. Supreme Admiral Kethanol watched in growing horror as his perfectly organized fleet came under attack by enemies that refused to follow any recognizable pattern. The humans seemed to ignore casualties and tactical disadvantages, while pressing their attacks with suicidal determination. Admiral, we are receiving reports of attacks on our colonies in 12 different systems, his communications officer reported with panic in his voice. Human forces are simultaneously striking targets throughout our territory. This was the moment when Kethanol realized the true scope of his error. The humans had not been preparing to defend their homeworld, but to attack the Zephyrian Empire across dozens of star systems. While his fleet was concentrated at Earth, human strike forces were demonstrating Zephyrian vulnerability throughout their territory. The turning point came when Sam Rodriguez successfully uploaded Dr. Harper's virus into the Zephyrian fleet's communication network. The malicious code spread through their systems like wildfire, causing navigation failures, weapon malfunctions, and coordination breakdowns across the entire fleet. Admiral, our ships are losing formation and weapons control, the tactical officer reported as chaos erupted throughout the Zephyrian fleet. The humans appear to have introduced some kind of electronic warfare system into our networks. Kethanol stared at his displays as 3 centuries of Zephyrian technological superiority crumbled before his eyes. The humans had done something that no previous enemy had even attempted. They had turned the aliens' own technology against them. As Zephyrian ships began firing on each other due to system failures, Amy Phillips led the final assault on their command vessel. Her fighter squadrons targeted the massive ship's communication arrays, preventing Kethnal from coordinating any response to the chaos erupting throughout his fleet. "This is Admiral Chen Wei of Earth's Defense Force," came the broadcast that reached every ship in both fleets. "Supreme Admiral Kethnal, your fleet is defeated, and your empire is under attack throughout this region of space. Surrender immediately, or face complete destruction." The offer of surrender was unprecedented in Zephyrian experience. No enemy had ever been in a position to demand their submission, but the current situation left Kethnal with no alternatives. His fleet was crippled, and reports were coming in of successful human attacks on Zephyrian positions across 20 star systems. "This is Supreme Admiral Kethnal," he finally responded. "The Zephyrian Empire accepts your terms for surrender." Words were the most difficult he had ever spoken, but the evidence was overwhelming. Humanity had not just defeated his fleet, but had simultaneously demonstrated Zephyrian vulnerability to every species in their empire. In the aftermath of the battle, reports began reaching Earth about rebellions breaking out across Zephyrian territory. The subject species that had been held in submission by fear were rising up as news of human victory spread throughout the galaxy. Admiral Chen Wei addressed the United Nations from Earth orbit, explaining that humanity now faced a choice that would determine their future among the stars. They could become conquerors themselves, or they could help liberate the species the Zephyrians had oppressed. "We have proven that the Zephyrian Empire can be defeated," Chen told the assembled world leaders. "Now we must decide whether we will use that knowledge to build something better than what came before." The decision was unanimous. Humanity would carry the banner of freedom to the stars not as conquerors, but as liberators, helping other species achieve the independence that humans valued above all else. 6 months later, the first human liberation fleet launched from Earth, carrying volunteers from every nation on the planet. Their mission was to help former Zephyrian colonies establish their own governments, while preventing the emergence of any new empire that might threaten galactic freedom. Commander Vextar sat in a human prisoner facility studying military history, texts, and finally understanding his civilization's fatal error. The Zephyrians had declared war on a species that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare and had never stopped fighting. The final irony was that by attempting to demonstrate their power against what they thought was a weak enemy, the Zephyrians had instead created the force that would bring freedom to the galaxy. They had declared war on the wrong species, and learned too late that humans were not just survivors, but liberators who would never stop fighting for what they believed was right. Earth's radio transmissions now carried a new message to the stars, announcing that humanity was ready to help any species that wanted to be free. The age of the Zephyrian Empire was over, and the age of galactic liberation had begun.